On the scuff courts of a high school gymnasium, a teenage Michael Jordan faced a crushing blow that would leave an everlasting mark on the future of basketball. A talented teenager in many sports, Jordan was fueled by the burning desire to make his impact on the world as a pro athlete. Little did he know that fate had a different plan, one that would test his spirit and redefine the very essence of resilience. Michael Jordan is now a name synonymous with greatness, yet as a 15-year-old boy he faced a setback that would make most others crumble. In a cruel twist of fate, the athletic talent found himself cut from his high school basketball team. The stinging pain of rejection echoed through the empty gymnasium, leading young Jordan grappling with doubts and uncertainty. It was a moment that could have defined him, a moment that could have crushed his dreams. But what happened next? How did Michael Jordan transform this painful rejection into the cornerstone of his legendary career? How did he turn adversity into triumph, becoming the greatest basketball player the world has ever seen? Well, stick around, because in today's video, we explore one of life's biggest inevitabilities. Rejection is unavoidable, but it's necessary. And if you watch to the end of this video, you'll find out the surprising ways that rejection will actually fuel your greatness. So let's get started. Going back to Michael Jordan and his high school rejection at 15. Knowing what you know about MJ now, what do you think his response was to this rejection? To instantly hit the court to start making practice buckets, or to instantly do countless laps of the gym to improve his fitness? No. He went home, ran into his bedroom, and started crying his eyes out. You see, rejection quite simply hurts. There's no denying or escaping that. And some of the worst advice out there is keep your chin up, get over it, or don't cry about it. Because actually what psychological research shows is that Michael Jordan's post-rejection crying may have been the best thing that he could have done in that moment. Research from Northeastern University's Lisa Feldman Barrett has shown that instead of the common advice of ignoring or suppressing your emotions when facing rejection, it can be more beneficial to fully embrace your emotions first, before then using them as a tool to overcome rejection. The trouble with ignoring or suppressing your emotions is that it stops you from truly moving on. You pretend you're fine, but the pain of rejection still lingers and can have a permanent knock-on effect to your confidence and your faith in your ability to get better. But what research in this area has found is that people are much better at moving on and bouncing back from rejection if they've practiced emotional granularity. What this means is specifically and accurately labeling the complexity of your emotions. And the more specific you can be, the more control you gain. Particularly for boys and men, there is a real problem with how they label bad emotions, which are almost exclusively funneled into either frustration or anger. And this can then just be channeled into unhealthy forms of aggression that don't actually help you get over that rejection that you faced. So in crying on his bed after getting cut from his high school team, Michael Jordan embraced the fact that yes, he was angry and frustrated, but he was also devastated. He was also confused as he knew that he was a top player, but a friend of his was selected merely because he was several inches taller than MJ. Putting a name to all these feelings allows you to fully understand and process them so that you can actually take the right course of action to move on and develop from the rejection. In MJ's case, he knew that he would have to outwork everyone else now more than ever to make up for his height, because at the time he was only 5'10". After getting granular on his emotions, he could form a more concrete and strategic plan on how to improve. Because successfully processing your emotions allows you to think clearer. You don't have to deal with all of this frustration that often just causes things to be jumbled up and knotted in your head. So when you face another rejection, it's important to ask yourself, how am I really feeling? And list out all the emotions that come to mind, not just the anger and the frustration. Yes, those are ones that may be there, but there will almost always be other ones present. And if you don't confront these head on, you'll never fully get over that rejection. But what if you keep getting rejected for the same thing, particularly something that you can't do much about, like your height? Well, let's talk about Antoine Griezmann. In 2018, the world witnessed Griezmann's meteoric rise to stardom, as he played a pivotal role in leading France to World Cup glory and also clinched third spot in the Ballon d'Or. It was a glorious moment for a player who'd been repeatedly overlooked and rejected by his own country's clubs. Because remarkably, Griezmann faced a formidable challenge early in his career. Despite his incredible talent, no French club was willing to take a chance on this young player because he was deemed too small and lightweight. The likes of Lyon, Auxerre and Saint-Etienne all passed on him. Yet he found his opportunity in Spain with Real Sociedad after catching their eye while trialling with Montpellier. It was a bold decision to take. At just 14 years old, Griezmann took a leap of faith and moved to Spain in 2005, despite reluctance from his parents. But Real Sociedad became his stepping stone. And after impressing with 20 goals in 50 appearances, he was lured away by Atletico Madrid for 30 million euros in 2014. Fast forward to today, and Griezmann will go down as one of the greatest French players in history, and currently sits fourth on the list of all-time appearances for his country. His journey teaches us that rejection can be a stepping stone to unimaginable heights. But what is the specific lesson? It's to find opportunity elsewhere. Sometimes, no matter how good you are, the environment or the people that you're around just won't won't recognize or accept that. It's why the kid who wants to become an entrepreneur moves to Silicon Valley, away from his unsupportive parents and extended family in New York, who are all doctors and lawyers. Or it's why the kid who wants to become a movie star moves to LA with $100 in his pocket, because he's tired of hearing you'll never make it from all his buddies in a small town in the Midwest. Rejection is simply often a case of just taking a wrong turn in a maze. You just have to turn around and take an alternative route to get to the center of whatever it is that you're working towards. For me, this YouTube channel actually really developed and became something I persisted with because of a rejection. So a few years back, there was an opportunity at my old university for a number of performance psychology volunteer positions in order to work with university sports teams. And at this point, I had already developed psychology programs for teams, run my own workshops at companies, and actually worked with a few athletes one-to-one. But I'd lost a lot of work in these areas because of the pandemic, and this had caused my progress to stagnate. So I applied for one of these positions, but didn't even get offered an interview. Why? Apparently, and this is a quote, there were several already established and qualified professionals applying for the role. But funnily enough, one of my best mates, who had less experience than me, got an interview and ended up bagging one of the positions. Why? Because he knew the girl running the program better than me. So I thought, fuck it. Even though I was more qualified, I wasn't being given a shot at a voluntary position because of favoritism. So you know what? I'm going to find opportunities elsewhere. I'm going to keep posting the best possible videos on performance psychology on YouTube and just create my own opportunities. And I've 100% learned more from forming my own pathway than if I was doing that voluntary work. And because I took this approach, I'm now working with athletes and other high performers from all around the world, and I'm helping tens of thousands of you guys each week improve your mental game. On that note, if I have helped you on your journey in any way through my videos, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because this ratio of people watching without subbing is...
It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. A sports disgrace, obviously.
Look, it's free and would mean a lot to me, so thanks a lot. But one of the points I'm getting at here is that you can find opportunity elsewhere, even if you don't have the means to move around physically. There are literally so many ways to move towards your goals and ambitions as a performer through the online world now. A rejection in the physical world can easily turn into acceptance in the digital world. And honestly, trust me from my experience, the more you look, the more you'll find. But look, sometimes those rejections will still keep coming. How do you not get ground down by those when they happen time and time again? Well, let's chat about 7-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady. Before becoming the GOAT quarterback, he was a guy who began his football career as a backup quarterback on a high school junior varsity team that went 0-8 and didn't even score a touchdown. He then moved on to college where he was the 7th string quarterback. And then when he finally reached the NFL, he was drafted as the 199th pick, essentially meaning every single team in the league overlooked him between 4 and 6 times. Just think about that. He was rejected 198 times, and even the team he eventually signed for had rejected him a handful of times before finally giving him a shot. You would think that given how much of a nice guy Tom Brady seems, he probably handled that rejection well by not taking it personally, something we're all told to do. Well, watch this for a second.
For me, anger was good. The more I could create an enemy, the more I wanted to go out and kill those guys. If I could just, what did they say? What did they look like? Do they disrespect me at all? Those are little things that can get me right in the emotional frame of mind that when I ran on the field and I said, let's go.
So what's the lesson here? Well, I honestly believe that you sometimes do need to take rejection personally. Because at the end of the day, rejection is almost always the result of someone's personal decision. It's very rare a rejection is purely based on the objective, things like raw data and numbers alone. A rejection is the result of someone's judgment and opinion, that they don't value or rate you highly enough. And Tom Brady carried that fire in him throughout his career. He took all of those rejections personally. He forever played with a chip on his shoulder and wanted to crush his enemies. And it was this attitude that led him to having the hunger and desire to keep playing and winning till he was 45 years old. If you take things personally, it forces you to confront exactly what are the causes of doubt that others have in you. You naturally become more self-aware of your weaknesses. Because even though some of those rejections you face are definitely personal, they can still be justified and the correct decision at that moment in time. Because rejection often comes from someone with more experience, and they have the insight to know that, yeah, it might be that you're not ready to step up at a higher level or be given that big opportunity just yet. So should you see everyone who rejects you as an enemy? No, not necessarily, but do use the rejection as an opportunity to prove them wrong. Not always to rub it in their face, but to say, look, I'm more than you thought I was. Quite simply, rejection is a fuel that we all need. It forces you to push to levels that then make it impossible for the people who doubted you to ever question you again in future. Without rejection, you stagnate, get complacent, and stop growing. I know handling rejection can still be tough though, because it often comes with a strong side of criticism. So to help you deal with this close friend of rejection, you should watch this next video here.